All right, all right. Welcome back to another episode of Mindset Mondays. I'm your host, Garrett Bake, and here in collaboration with Contractor Plus. What is Mindset Monday? It's all around giving you the skill set, the mindset, and sometimes the kick in the pants that you need to make those decisions that ultimately will impact positively your business and your life. Well, here we are, another Monday. Here's the crazy part. We are midway through March. By the way, this is the last week of winter. So all y'all who are complaining about the cold, like I was last week, little round of applause. We're happy. Like winter's over. I say that, and it's going to get cold again next week. But for now, we're just going to roll with it. If you are here live, go ahead and drop your name, your business, where you're from, so we can give you a shout out, whether you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or one of our other platforms. Go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we'll make sure that we shout you out. So we are midway through March, right? Now, if you're playing this game correctly, you understand that there's 12 months in a year. There's 4 quarters, which means 3 months in a quarter. So here we are, almost 1 quarter of the way through 2024. Can you believe it? Better than can you believe it? How you doing? Right? Here in a couple of weeks, we'll have a true check-in conversation, but you should be paying attention to what's happening right now. All y'all should have set quarterly targets. Where are you at? Where are you at compared to where you wanted to be? What's working? What's not working, right? And we ask these questions not because we want you to feel bad about things, but we want you to make sure that you go or get to, I should say, where it is that you want to get to in business and in life. And I'll tell you, there's something I learned a long time ago. What gets measured gets improved. Some of you know this, some of you don't. When I was working as a police officer, prior to what I do now, which is business consulting, and we can talk about that story in detail another time. But what I was doing is I had to go to the police academy first, right? Like every police officer, you have to go to the academy. The academy is 5 months long, 5 months of training. Now, I had shot a gun before. In fact, I'd gone to Boy Scout camp and shot guns and gone with friends and shot a shotgun and whatnot, a pistol here and there, but I'd never actually truly learned how to shoot a gun. Sure, don't point it at something you don't want to kill. I get that. But to truly shoot a gun, I'd never really learned that, right? And so I had to figure things out. Well, how do you figure things out? You got to go through it, right? So I remember the first day we were at the range with the firearms instructor, and we're all lined up at about 10 yards from the targets. We all have our weapon. We're loading our weapon and pointing at the target. And he's like, okay, on my command, I want you to take 1 shot to the body. So he gives a command to fire. So I extend my arms out, boom, pull the trigger. I'm looking at my target. I'm like, man, I don't see a hole. Like maybe my eyes are just not working today. And so do it again, boom, do it again, boom, 3 times. And then we holster the weapon, and now we're checking the targets, right? He wanted to get a baseline for where everyone was at. Well, guess what? 3 shots, 3 misses. I missed it 3 times, right? Now, when he came back over, he kind of shook his head, but he knew where I was at, and he knew what it was that I needed to do to get to where I wanted to get to, right? So we look at that and we say, okay, at that point, was basically starting at 0. I took 3 shots at 10 yards and I couldn't hit the body. In fact, I probably couldn't hit the broadside of a barn at that point. I was jerking the trigger. I was over gripping, any of a number of things. But through a process of multiple months, he took this cadet that couldn't shoot or recruit to the body, 1 to the head. My entire police career, something I was really proud of. Now, you're all contractors. What does my experience in the police academy have to do with you and your business? Really interesting, right? Going back to what I mentioned earlier, what gets measured gets improved. So if you think about it this way, you got to look at your business and say, what am I measuring so that I can improve it? See, I had to take those first 3 shots on the line from 10 yards to know that I was starting from zero. Okay. There was only one place to go. But there were other people who had shot and received lessons and whatnot that weren't starting from zero. And so their path was different than my path. And I tell you that because I want you not to focus on the people around you and not to focus on what's happening around you, but more importantly, to focus on you, where you're at and where you want to go. And so I want to share a few, we can call them secrets if you want, but really pillars on what it is that you need to focus on when it comes to growing a business. Okay. And more importantly, your business. Look at it through this lens. Now, Norman Vincent Peale said, the great secret of getting what you want from life is to know what you want and believe that you can have it. So knowing what you want and believing that you can have it. Now, when we say things like, I want to make more money, yeah, that sounds cool, but how much more money, right? Have you thought about, okay, what's the mortgage on $1 million house? Or how much is it going to cost to buy those 40 acres and have, the cows and the horses and the sheep running around? How much is it going to cost for me to be able to buy a vacation home in Mexico? How much is it going to cost for me to be able to pay for my kids' schooling and then not have to worry about it? How much is it going to cost for me to be able to live comfortably in retirement and not have to worry about working another job? Right? Getting clear on what you want and then believing you can get there. Some of you have very clear targets. I want to do 500,000 this year. I want to do 1.5 million. I want to do 10 million. And that's great because we have to start or begin with the end in mind. We know where we want to go and then we work it backwards from there. And I run contractors through this almost on a daily basis. But think about it this way, okay? This is just an example. Let's say you're a painter and your average painting job is $10,000, okay? You want to do $1 million this year, $1 million. How many jobs do you have to do in order to hit $1 million? Well, that's simple. You take $1 million and you divide by 10,000. That should give you what? 100. Okay. You need to do 100 jobs this year at an average of $10,000 to hit your target. That's it. Now, there is a real easy way to make it a little more tangible, right? So how many months are there in the year? There's 12. So if you take those 100 jobs and divide them by 12, that's 8.3 jobs a month. So basically, you're looking at 2 jobs a week. If you average 2 jobs a week at $10,000 a piece, you will hit $1 million. Crazy, right? But we don't spend enough time doing that. So my challenge, first of all, is take the time, pull over if you're driving, if you're in front of your computer, write that thing out. You might have a revenue target for the end of the year, but what do you need to do this quarter, right? This quarter to start moving you towards that target, right? The secret then is to begin with the end in mind and reverse engineer the results that you want. Okay. Now, what's the next thing that we're going to look at? Well, the next thing we're going to look at is responsibility. Okay. Now, responsibility is a really interesting thing. Sometimes we're really responsible for what's in front of us, and sometimes we're not. Like, I don't know, putting the toilet seat down, doing the dishes, taking out the trash. Some of those things we may be responsible for, or we may not. But the point is that as a business owner, especially as a contractor, you have to take responsibility for everything that happens in your business, for every decision that everyone inside of your business makes or doesn't make, for every success, but also for every failure. You see, you can make excuses or you can make progress, but you can't make both. There's a book that I really enjoy. It's called Leadership and Self-Deception. And it's written by the Arbinger Institute. Highly recommend you get it. You can get it on Amazon. But the book talks about this concept of leadership. And in order to truly be a leader, you have to take responsibility. If you can't take responsibility, you're not truly a leader. Okay. Now, your business, if a truck runs out of gas and your guy forgot to put the gas in it, can you get mad at him? Sure, 100%, absolutely. But in the end, whose responsibility is it? That's yours. You can get mad that you have a finished carpentry business and your guys didn't frame the door right, or the baseboards have gaps, right? Or you can just say, hey, look, this is my responsibility. Because the crazy thing happens when you take responsibility. You control the outcome, right? You can control what happens from there. If your guy, for example, forgets to fill up and runs out of gas, yeah, that's technically his responsibility, but it's yours because now you can come back and go, okay, what's my process for making sure that every vehicle in my fleet is ready at the beginning of shift, at the beginning of the workday? And if you don't have anything, then that's your responsibility, right? You can put something in place, a checklist, a sheet, or whatever to make sure that the vehicles are all gassed up at the beginning of shift. Make sense? You can find solutions if you own the responsibility. Now, question for you to consider. Where right now are you running from responsibility in your business? Is it with your employees? Is it with your books and your numbers? You don't understand your cash flow? Is it that you're struggling with a marketing plan, so instead you're paying $3,000 to $5,000 to a company to market for you, but you're not getting any leads? Sounds a lot easier to say it's their fault, doesn't it? But is it really? Or is it yours? All right. The next pillar that we talk about is about commitment. Okay. Unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plan. This is Peter Drucker. Okay. Now, if you don't know who Peter Drucker is, he's a pretty famous guy. He's a consultant, he's an educator, and he talks about business management, right? So we're saying, unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plan. So you can say that, again, you want to succeed. You can say that you want to achieve a certain outcome. You can say that, whatever. But until you've committed to it, nothing's going to change. It's the proverbial, what happens every January 1st? Well, everybody and their mother signs up for a gym membership. Why? Because they really want the outcome. Lose weight, be healthier, look fitter, have more muscles. But they never truly commit to the outcome, right? The work that it's going to take to get there. And that's why by January 20th, everybody quits. They're just not committed. So we look at your business and say, are you committed to the outcome of your business? Now, sometimes that commitment looks like what? It looks like you staying late. It looks like you getting there early. It looks like you figuring out why your training process isn't working, right? But in the end, you have to commit to doing the thing that you said you were going to do. Again, this is your business and no one else is in charge except for you. The next pillar that we look at then is success, okay? And I want you to consider this statement. If you don't understand your business, you'll never succeed. Let me repeat that. If you don't understand your business, you will never succeed. See, because business is all about understanding people, which would include your leads, your clients, and your employees, okay? Running a business or success in a business has to do with understanding your product. It has to do with understanding your marketing and your sales process. It has to do with understanding your books. If you don't understand your business, you will not succeed. Okay. Here's a crazy thing I want you to consider. It doesn't matter if you're a painter, a plumber, a remodeler, a handyman, a landscaper. It doesn't matter the trade you're in. You are a business owner. You are not a trade. You're a business owner. And you have to look at it from that perspective. If you're constantly chasing a lead only to stop chasing leads so that you can fulfill the work, and then when you're done with the work, going back to chasing the leads and back and forth, you don't have a business. You have a really expensive job. Okay. How do we make that a business? We understand that I am in a business that requires constant leads, constant sales, the ability to perform and positively get jobs done, right? Making money, keeping money. This is what we're after. And so you look at it from this perspective and it changes what you may or may not do. All right, we're back. Apologies. It looks like we froze for a second there. Okay. So the fifth thing that we're looking at, the wealthy contractor, the successful contractor, the one who wants to win takes control of time. If you gain control of your time, you'll gain control of your life. Let me repeat that. If you gain control of your time, you'll gain control of your life. I know that sometimes you got to be at work early. I know sometimes you got to stay late. It's part of the game. But that's the exception, not the norm. You have to get to a point where you are running your business, not your business is running you. And we've talked about it here on this show before, but I want you to consider this. I want you to consider when somebody calls your business and says, hey, I need a quote, I need an estimate, I need a whatever. What do you tell them? We'll be out there in an hour. We'll be out there this afternoon. We'll be out there next week. What do you tell them? Okay. Most of the time, when you tell them something that works for them, not what works for you. Ultimately, the better you learn to control your schedule, the more money you'll make because you're in control of time. What I recommend is have a couple of blocks of time, either in the morning or the afternoon during the week, exclusively for doing bids or estimates. Have a couple of blocks of time during the week exclusively for sales. Have a couple blocks of time during the week where you're exclusively on the job site, right? Now, obviously, if you've got a team, this changes a little bit, but ultimately, you or your people need to make sure that they are where they need to be. But if you don't learn to control this time, you're ultimately like an employee. What does an employee do? Well, that's right. They're told when they work. They're told what they need to do during the hours that they work. They're told what their responsibilities are. And ultimately, they're told how much they're worth on an hourly basis. And if you don't learn to control time, that's exactly what's happening in your world. You're being told when to work. You're being told how to work. You're being told what it is that they're going to pay you for, and you're being told how much they're going to pay you for. I don't want a job. I don't know about you, but I don't want a job. So as you're going about this week, I want you to consider this. Are you setting yourself up for success? Or are you setting yourself up for failure? Only one of two things are going to happen, success or failure. Now, failure, if you're trying, is not a bad thing. There's lessons to be learned and you can make adjustments and move on. But failure for lack of trying can be deadly to your business. So this week, make sure that you're focused on results. What am I doing today that is leading me to the outcome that I want out of my business? All right, that's all we got for you guys. You know what time it is. It's time to get after it. 3, 2, 1, off you go.
We're 100% funded by the crowd. That's right, Contractor Plus is funded and owned by the companies who use it and love it the most. Not too long ago, it was actually the law that you had to already be wealthy in order to invest in startups. But equity crowdfunding platforms like WeFunder stepped in to save the day. They've democratized investing for everyone. We are proudly raising on WeFunder right now, and you don't have to be a wealthy accredited investor to get in on the action. You can invest as little as $100. I'm inviting you to come join the crowd and check out Contractor Plus on WeFunder.